Kia ora tātou and good morning. This morning I released the independent reviewers' reports into the allegations about the misuse of Whānau Ora funding by Te Poumatakana and Pasifika Futures Limited. These were very serious allegations. Specifically, the allegations were that Te Poumatakana used Whānau Ora funding for an advertisement campaign to encourage Māori to join the Māori role, and that Pasifika Futures used Whānau Ora funding in order to fund the Moana Pasifika rugby team. Overall, the reviewer did not uphold the allegations. However, whilst there was no evidence that the core allegations were found, the reviewer did make some recommendations about how to improve the Whānau Ora contracts. I fully support those recommendations. In fact, most of the recommendations in those reports have been implemented as a result of the new Whānau Ora contracts that came into effect on the 1st of July with the 4 new Whānau Ora Commissioning Agencies. There are a number of issues that still need clarifying, and I'll follow up on those. So before I take any questions, it's important to note these were serious allegations, and that's why this was a serious review. But importantly, there is no evidence that any misuse of Whānau Ora funds, as alleged, has been found. Kia ora tātou.
So they have been exonerated, the 2 organisations have been exonerated, that's what you're telling us this morning?
What I'm telling you is that the reviewer did not uphold the allegations as put.
Then why did we spend taxpayer money in this inquiry based on allegations that have not been upheld? Why did we waste taxpayer money on this?
Okay, I really do need to re-emphasise this point. These are serious allegations that required a serious review. When I spoke to both chairpersons of both entities just prior to the review being kicked off, we all agreed we needed sunlight on this.
They use the interest rate that how much was that interest?
The total, I don't know the total, and this is wider than Whānau Ora, because in terms of surpluses and interest earned, that is a system issue, and there are a number of contracts that Te Poumatakana had beyond Whānau Ora.
And in that election, I mean, given that the difference in Tāmaki Makaurau the last election was just 42 votes, and the party, Māori's president, was also in charge of the Whānau Trust, how much impact did that have on the actual result, then putting money into an advertising campaign encouraging Māori to join the Māori electoral?
That would be pure speculation on my part.
But given it's 42 votes, did they tell you how many people they managed to get onto the Māori electoral roll? Would the Electoral Commission tell you that?
No. The reviewer, that wasn't in the review's terms of reference.
However, on that point though, one of the goals and aims of Te Punikōkiri in terms of the Whānau Ora contract says it needs to increase electoral participation at general and local body elections. So the ad itself did not mention the Labour Party, it did not mention Te Pāti Māori, it made no reference to any political party. Were they not fulfilling their brief in terms of the kaupapa of Te Punikōkiri aims by running an ad that increases participation?
I would agree that encouraging all New Zealanders to enrol is a good thing. However, encouraging a specific group of people to move on to a specific role is beyond that.
Can I just be really clear regarding when you say that it's not upheld regarding the misuse of taxpayer funds? So are you effectively saying that there was zero taxpayer dollars that went into the funding of that electoral ad and zero taxpayer dollars that went into the Pacifica futures for the Moana Pasifika rugby team, just to be clear?
The reviewer has made that point. It's not upheld. There are some residual issues that I need to follow up on as a result of how we manage surplus funds and interests on funds, but that is a system issue that requires a system response, and I've referred that to the Public Service Commission.
So, can you just be more clear? What do you mean by those? What are those residual funds? Are you saying that effectively there may have been a small amount that did go into those things and you need to check it over? I'm just a little bit unclear.
I'm talking about interests and how interest is generated.
So is interest classified as taxpayer money?
This is a wider issue beyond Whānau Ora around how interest and surpluses are managed.
So if you're not upholding this allegation or these complaints, then does that suggest that it's not public funds, even though the interest came from public funds?
That is a question. That is a question that has to be answered. How you manage that.
Because doesn't it just then come down to semantics, because the interest was just accruing in their account and they used that money in that account to pay for this campaign, which got a lot of Māori onto the Māori electoral roll.
So, okay.
I just want to know, why was it not upheld if it was taxpayer money that went towards it?
Well, the point you're making is that's taxpayers' money. As the Auditor General has identified in his recent report regarding Oranga Tamariki, that surpluses for social agencies delivering social services is not something that should be discouraged, because they should be able to make a profit and also use that profit to put back in their businesses. So are we saying that for social services you can't make a profit, but for other services like economic agencies, for infrastructure, etc., you can?
So are you saying then that that systemic issue is a TPK systemic issue rather than one that was a taumatakana issue?
No, what I'm saying is this is not a Whānau Ora issue. This is a wider system issue on how interest is used and how surpluses are used.
So the likes of the construction company got given $10 million to build the bridge. They put that into an account and earned interest on it, then use that interest to go, right, we're going to support the National Party. That would be okay.
But how do you know that it was supporting the National Party?
So is that what the argument is here? Is that because, I mean, the inference is that John Tamahere, who runs the Waipareta Trust, which runs Te Pau Matakana, was the one behind this campaign, which flipped a seat, a substantial Labour seat, to a Te Pāti Māori candidate by just 42 votes.
So the point you're making, and the reviewer comments on this in his report, is that this requires expertise to determine the questions you're asking, and that's why I'm referring that to the Electoral Commission.
Was Whānau Ora ever a part of the investigation and the inquiry at any stage or throughout the whole investigation? Were they part and parcel of the participate, or did they participate?
Yes.
Were they questioned?
Yes.
They were questioned and they were...
Yes, they were part of the review.
Just because the TPK has already stopped, future, commissioning through the Whānau Ora Commissioning Agency through to Pau Matakana, and those organisations may say, hey, well, that there was a jumping to conclusions, and that you then stopped with the contracting of these organisations when now those allegations have not been upheld. I mean, how would you respond to that?
Well, we went through an open procurement process. That started at the end of 2024, before these allegations came to light. Te Pau Matakana was part of that procurement process, And out of that procurement process, and it was open, we have 4 new commissioning agencies. That wasn't by design, that was a result of an open procurement process.
Would you like some advice from the Public Service Commissioner as to what happens with the interest payments and stuff like that? So when you contract out these services, you can be really clear about what can and can't be used.
It is a system issue that requires further consideration. So I have referred that question to the Public Service Commission, and that'll require a system-wide look at how this is approached.
In respect to the kaupapa of Te Puni Kōkiri increasing the number of Māori to participate in voting, are you now saying that that ads, whether they be for general or for Māori role, cannot be made because they're targeting a specific role? Is being on the Māori role not part of the kaupapa of Te Puni Kōkiri in terms of mana motuhake and rangatiratanga?
Look, what I can say is the questions that you've just asked are questions that I am referring to the Electoral Commission.
Because that should be their role, right? It should be the Electoral Commission that encourages Māori to join the Māori role. So there's no conflict of interest, there's no dodgy headlines, there's no inferences that have happened in this case.
I can't comment on the role of the Electoral Commission, but what I can say is that they hold the expertise to answer the questions that have come out of the report and that you have indicated, that you have mentioned. So that's the right place for that to be referred to.
I guess to Lloyd's questioning earlier, there's a problem of optics here, right? So yes, could accept as a result of the inquiry that there was no taxpayer funds that was used in that electoral ad, but Whānau Ora still commissioned through to Taumata that electoral ad, which obviously has ties back to John Tamakere. Do you accept that there is a problem with the optics of ads being commissioned where there may be a potential financial benefit for political parties?
Well, that's something, that's why I've referred this to the Electoral Commission. But let's be clear about the allegations. The allegations were about Whānau Ora money. I'm here as the Chief Executive of Te Puni Kōkiri to talk about Whānau Ora. And what I'm saying is it wasn't Whānau Ora money.
And therefore, should you and the Minister for Māori apologise for the inquiry in the first instance to following up on the allegations?
Well, let me put it to you. Those allegations are serious. Those allegations were not made by me. They were in the media. They're serious allegations that require a serious review. That was done, and that's to draw a line under this and put sunlight on this.
It would have been more damaging if you didn't.
I can only speculate, but as I said, I spoke to both chairpersons and we agreed we needed to put sunlight on this.
Couple more.
In terms of conflicts of interest, as I said, is looking to have more active consideration. What does that actually look like, not just the commissioning agency changes?
The model standards that we have across the public service, we have implemented those and reinforced those with the new commissioning agencies under the new contracts. So what it means is that there are more controls, there is more reporting, you're able to follow where the funding is spent, and you're able to identify the outcomes through evidence and data using the IDI to be able to be clear about what we are getting in terms of our funding.
Can I ask why there was a gap there previously?
The original Whānau Ora contracts were put in place before we had a system that we have now in government around the IDI and data and analysis. And one of the most difficult things in the social sector is to prove attribution. There is an opportunity now through the social investment approach to be able to do that using data and evidence. What we're doing is aligning Whānau Ora so that we can identify where those outcomes are being met and prove that attribution.
Should anybody be apologising to the two organisations?
Just because we haven't asked about the Pasifika Futures allegations there. I've only had a momentary glance at the report, but what were all those $100,000 payments that keep going to Moana Pasifika Charitable Trust? I think they were across 5 years that equated to more than $1 million. Did that go to the rugby team? And is that how they paid for Arnie Slavia? Explain that.
Our contract is with Pasifika Futures. The Pasifika Futures uses the Pasifika Medical Association as their administrator for Whānau Ora. There's no relationship between us and Moana Pasifika rugby team.
So it goes from you guys to Pacifica Futures to the medical part. Is that how the money got to the rugby team, or did no money at all go to the rugby team?
Well, the report identifies there is no evidence that any Whānau Ora money went to the rugby team.
Will there be any apology to anyone, to Paumatakana, from Te Puni Kōkiri, any apology whatsoever for putting them through this?
I don't know how clear I can be. The allegations were made that required a serious review. That was the best and only option that was in front of me.
Okay, next meeting, Mr. Seamus, is the department.